With the market right here on ET now, and it's turning out to be one of those very quiet sessions. We're just lingering around that 11,340 mark. All power to the broader market yet again. PVR pushes another 3%. Hindalco holding out. Tata Power, we were just chatting with Praveer Sinha. That's looking good by about 3.6%. Bharat Forge pushes another 6% in trade, and Interglobe Aviation higher by another 7% as we speak right now. Within the Nifty, it continues to be an IT as well as metals day. So Hindalco, JSW Steel, all these names are holding out. You've got a Wipro, you've got TechM. These are all names which are looking good. But let's welcome on board and let's talk about self-reliance in auto components, the fact that they're deleveraging their balance sheet, and fundraise via rights issue in place. Nirmal Minda, the CMD at Minda Industries, joining in the show right now. Nirmal, hi, morning. Good to have you on the show. You've just announced the rights issue. Help us understand, how is it that you're going to have this added to your liquidity position? How is it that you're going to be using the proceeds of the rights?
So thank you for inviting me. I think when we envisaged this issue, at the time the industries was under the stress. And then we wanted, to have cash and not go for more borrowing. So the majority of the portions, will be used for some, our subsidiary company in the acquisition, investment in the subsidiary company, and to reduce our borrowings and to reduce our, debt. As of, you might know that our debt equity is around 0.5, so our target is always to keep it under 1. But in order to do that, we never knew that, industry will grow so soon, will catch up so soon. So therefore, that was the reason. Thank you for that.
Sure. Help us understand how the demand-supply scenario as well is panning out. Are there still bottlenecks, or do you think things have eased off? And are you seeing incremental demand coming in from any segments, be it OEMs or any other?
So demand, from June onward, it has started increasing almost in all segments except the commercial vehicles. Commercial vehicles is still to catch up. And we have almost reached pre-COVID level in many segments, and all, like four-wheeler, little bit less, and we are all catching up. As far as the challenges are concerned, yes, we are still facing some challenges mainly in the western region, in the Pune region, for availability of manpower. So, but that also is catching up. So I think, and the tier 2 also, they are all catching up. So the ecosystem is getting much better than, almost reaching to the same level. But yes, the COVID cases are still coming, and then we are all, trying to keep it up as a best sustainable social distance, and how do we make sustainable organization and continue to maintain the COVID norm. And I am hopeful also, the demand will sustain. That also is my feeling now. The festive season is coming. Even after that, the demand is my feeling is that it is going to sustain.
Okay, fair enough. So which of the business segments do you feel will help you ride this patch really towards the, till the end of the fiscal? Are you looking perhaps a little bit more at some of the newer businesses to help to minimize the impact of the pandemic?
We have, as you know, that we are always in the localization. Our basic growth over the decades, has been primarily stressed on the localization, the opportunity to look for the localization, and being this Atmanirbhar and Make in India policy is further promoting us to localize. OEMs are also now trying to de-risk themselves, and they are trying to look at the supplier who has adjacent technology to localize. At the same time, we have also entered in many products in the past which were being imported, or on the regulation changes, opportunity because of the regulation changes such as safety norms or environment norms. So with all that, we got an opportunity. At the same time, the opportunity through the localization. And we keep on adding, but at the same time, we just don't add any product in our portfolio unless we have a sizable cake which will market share in India for that product line.
Sure. Okay, on one hand, you've also seen an increase in revenue because of the spike in the wiring harness business, and the streets factoring that in. On the other hand, you've also had, negative operating leverage, higher import content. How are the two scenarios really balancing out?
So first of all, let me correct, the wiring harness is not in my portfolio. That's a mistake, maybe. I'm sorry for that. But, as I said, that import content, we also do have import contents in our product lines. As far as the China de-risking, I don't know, your question is toward the China de-risking, but I understand in line with that. So we have made our plan for all the de-risking. At the same time, not stopping the supplies from China, but balance out from the Korea, Taiwan, and other countries. So that if there is any, problem from the China in the near future, we can always continue to have our supply chain, our ecosystem continue to run. But in our component sector, whatever we are importing, there also we are looking for the localization. And primarily we are importing the electronic components, for which you might know that, it's a huge investment, around $4 billion at least. And this is not only used in the auto sector, but also in the telecom sector, mobile phone, etc. So government is now revisiting the plan of how to subsidize, how to invite the electronic manufacturer. And the scale is the main point there. Unless we export that, not only use in India, but we export in a big way, I think that will be, very, very much required for viability of those localization.
Right, Mr. Minda, morning. Given that electronic parts seems to be a big handicap for the auto industry in India, why, according to you, has India not been able to develop the electronics auto parts industry over these years? Why do you think that component makers prefer importing these parts instead of directly manufacturing it themselves?
Yeah, there has been, it is a big history by itself. So there has been two companies which started this, the government gave the subsidy. In this kind of, government intervention, government subsidy, government support will be, required in the initial year for, I would say, a couple of years, for 5-6 years, in terms of subsidy and in terms of duty on the imported component. As of now, the duty is almost nil or maybe 5%, varying from 0 to 5%. So the viability and the economic of scale, as I mentioned, is too big there, in China, Taiwan, this country. So they export to the worldwide. So unless and until we have the volumes in India, though we consume volumes, but localization, and this is not only one sector related, this is the semiconductors and other transistors and all that, it requires in a big volume, and that is the main reason. And I think now we are also discussing with the Ministry of Commerce in the ECMA and SIAM together how to localize this, and I am quite hopeful that in the near future some solution might come.
Okay. So do you think that in light of this, OEMs and other partners, there will be attempts now to bring the costs down, increase competitiveness, and, that there would be a willingness to pay more for buying locally made or even sourced parts?
No, I don't think so. The willingness to buy from the local at the more costlier price, because they are also in competition. So unless and until they sell vehicles, we are part of ecosystem. So we have to maintain or reduce the costs in the localization, and we have an advantage of the labor. But in this electronic segment, particularly, labor does not play that much of role. It's a complete automation. It is a capital intensive, mainly, as I mentioned before. But any localization, we need to find ways that how do we, challenge the cost, which is a landing cost. And the government levying duty is against, not in line with WTO in many cases. So the government will also find a little bit difficult in increase the duty, on the imported parts in many of the cases. But the challenge is how do we reduce the cost if our volume grows? And, I'm confident that, we will be able to localize as much as possible, and our volume will certainly grow, because as you know, of course, let's forget about this 19-20 and this COVID period. 18-19 was a good year for us, and I am hopeful that 2022-23 we shall reach back to 18-19 or a little better next year. And once we are per capita tours, we are far behind China. So once our economy, GDP, infrastructure, all this grow, I think we will also grow together, and we will also reach to 10 million, let's say, passenger vehicles by 2030. That's what is we are emphasizing in the auto policy.
All right. We'll let you go on that note. Appreciate you, bringing for us more clarity as to what are some of the challenges with, supplying and manufacturing locally, as well as what the outlook is for Minda Industries.